Hi guys, good morning. So in the last session, we were going with the concept of multi-context. Okay. So in the last session, what we have seen is about the separate interface concept. Okay. The lab was half done. Okay. We were using the separate interface concept. Okay. So let's continue from the same place. Let me directly access the lab. Okay. So this is our lab and all the devices already running. Let's take the access of the devices. ASA, sales insight, sales DMZ, sales outside, HR inside, HR DMZ, as well as HR outside. Okay. Into context system. Before that, in the sales context, let me check. Show interface IP brief. So we have the IP address on the inside interface DMZ and outside. That is fine. On the sales inside, show IP interface brief. Interface is a sales side. Show IP interface brief. So this interface is also show IP interface brief. So this is also up. Okay. Let me try to take an access from sales inside to sales outside. 111.125. So yes, we have the access. So that means our sales side configuration is done. Okay. Now we need to do the configuration for the HR side. Okay, HR side configuration is also done. Show IP interface brief. This interface is up. Show IP interface brief. This is also show IP interface brief. This is also okay. So that means what? That we are done with the configuration for the sales outside, sales DMZ, sales inside. This is done. HR outside configuration is done. HR DMZ configuration is done. HR inside configuration is done. And on the ASA one side context we have created the sales context. Okay, this one is created. Now we need to create another context here that is about the HR. Okay, so let's do it. So go to the ASA, go to the sales system context, change to system. Spelling mistake is there. Change to system. Now we are in the system context. So if I say show context, okay, HR context is also created and interfaces are also assigned. All right. So then let's go to the context. And before that, show interface IP3. Make sure all the interfaces are up. Then change to context HR. Show interface IP brief. So right now, if you see here, the names of the interfaces are like 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so here also I'll change the name that 3 will be inside, 4 will be DMZ, 5 will be outside. Okay, I'll change the names like this. And for that, I'll go back to change to system. We go to the context. So context HR. It will be in the global configuration mode. Context HR. Allocate interface. Number 1 is E3, which is my insight. Then we have E4, which will be DMZ. Then we have E5, which will be outside. Okay, at least 3 characters will be required here. Okay, that's it. Change to HR. See, whenever you are moving to a normal standard context, okay, or any context, you will have to use this command change to context HR. So this context keyword you will have to use. Okay. But when you are going to the system context, directly you can say change to system. Okay. Or you can say change to context system. Both are fine. Now show interface IP brief. So we have our inside DMZ and outside interface. Okay. So let's configure these interfaces. Interface inside. Name is inside. Security level already set by 100. So inside will be 1033, DMZ 1044, and HR will be 1211. Right. So I'll say IP address 10331. Okay, this is ASA, so 103310 255 No shutdown we don't need to give because you can see the interfaces they are already up. Okay. Then interface DMZ, name it DMZ, secondary level 50, IP address will be 1044 10 255 255 2550. And then interface outside name if outside and then IP address 12.1.1.10 255 255 2550. No shut we don't require. Okay, so now let me try to take an access from the HR. If I say 12.1.1.125, so you can see I have communication to the HR outside. Okay. So from HR to HR communication I'm having, and from sales to sales. If I try like this, so I will not get an access. This is clear. So in the ASA configuration, what have we done? To mode. This is the mode. We set it to multiple. Okay. So let me open the notepad where we were doing the configuration yesterday. there in your drive. There it is. So configuration, all the routers configuration is done. Now, this is about the ASA configuration. Enable, configure the terminal. Okay. And then first thing you will do is change the mode to multiple. You will say mode multiple. Okay. So once you have done with the multiple mode, now let me do one thing that will help you understand better. Let me take one more ASA here. This is the second ASA right now we are having. Okay. So this is we have. You have to say enable. And then you will say global configuration mode. And you will say mode multiple. Okay.
Why to Fairul?
Sorry.
Why to Fairul?
No, this is just I'm showing you for the comments. That's it. Nothing else. Okay. And I'll just okay. So here we have changed the mode to multiple. Okay. We gave the enable command, configuration terminal, and we gave the command mode multiple. So what this command will do? This command will give you these two warnings. Then it will ask you that do you want to proceed with the change mode? Do you want to really change the mode? And do you want to convert the configuration? So it will convert your single mode configuration to multi-mode configuration. Okay. And then it will save your running configuration in a file, right? Whenever you check in the flash, there will always be a file old running config.cf. Okay, like that kind of file will be there in your uh, flash memory. Okay, so then finally it will change your mode to the multiple. Okay, so you would say once this changing mode is done, after that what you have to do is, now we don't require this later on. When you give the show mode command, it should show you firewall. Before that, change to context system show mode. Let's say enable terminal host name to AC. Okay. Once you change the name, now next thing we have to do is we have to create the context. Okay. So how will you create the context? You will say context fields. Then you will allocate the interfaces. Okay, I think I can just copy paste from here. No need to type everything again. Show running. Okay. This is sales. This is HR. I can copy. So this is how you will create. And while typing the config URL, you don't require to give this. Automatically it will create. Okay, so this is how you will create the context. Then after, if you want to move to any of the context, change to context sales. Okay. Then after, once you go into the sales context, there you can use your normal commands like interface, insight, name of insight, okay, IP address. So I think I can use the command sales to context sales. Then this is for the, okay, sales is not a valid. Okay. Interface and site. This will be 1011. Then interface in DMZ. This will be 1022. Interface outside. This will be 11. This is the configuration you have to do. Then you will say change to context. Yeah. Then you will do this configuration. Okay. And the no shutdown command for all these interfaces, you have to give in the system context itself. Okay. So like you say interface E0, no shutdown. Copy. Paste. This is for the E1, E2, E3, E4, right? So whatever the number of interfaces you're using, that many interfaces, you'll give with the no shutdown. And then you created context, okay, and you did the configuration. This is the configuration that we have done so far. Okay. So basically, if you see what we done, we just enabled the interfaces by giving no shutdown command. We created two contexts, one for the sales, one for the HR. Okay. Then in the sales context, I went and I gave the IP addresses. And same thing, I went to the HR context and I assigned the IP addresses. This is what we have done so far. And with this configuration, right now we are able to have communication. From where to where? Now we don't require this one. Okay. So from inside to outside communication, we are having from here to here, from here to here. This is the communication we are having right now. Okay, that means basic behavior of firewall. So we have successfully divided your single firewall into two firewalls. This has been divided now. Okay. So this side, okay, it is working as a separate firewall, and this side it is working as a separate firewall. So far, any doubt? Yes or no? Guys, is it clear or not?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, great. So now, if you want to enable like right now from outside to inside, I'm not having any sort of communication. And even if I try to ping from inside to outside, I will not be able to ping. Okay. So what you will do, you will write a ACL rule. Okay. So maybe you will write a ACL rule from outside to inside and you will permit ICMP, or maybe you will permit everything. So depending on what is your requirement, you will be allowing the traffic. Is that clear? Now, this is about the separate interface concept. And here we just have we have done one thing, that we have divided your firewall into two firewalls right now. Okay. So separate interface concept, if it is clear, now next we will move on to the shared interface concept, where the inside interface will be shared. That means instead of having two interfaces on the inside, I will use just one interface. Although the networks and everything will remain like this only. Okay, two DMZs will be there, two outside will be there, but the inside interface will be shared. So let's see how we can do it. So I can clone the lab instead of changing this lab. Let me write all the configurations here. Write memory all. And I think these configurations these are critical. Let me stop all the devices. Close the lab, and we will clone the lab. Now this one will be with the shared index. Here there will be a slight change in the topology. Okay. So up to all the connections. Yeah. The switch. A1, A2, A3. Okay, let me change it. Let's keep it in the sequence only. So E1, E2, E3, and E4. Okay, so this is how the shared interface scenario will be. Now let's bring all the devices up. One interface we can have for the admin. Start all the nodes. Save it. Save as. This is what your separate interface. So here the router configurations, they will remain same. Okay, there will be no change in the router's configuration. Only ASA configuration will change. So let me take the access of ASA. Sales inside. Sales PMG. Sales outside. HR inside. HR DMV. HR outside. Let these devices come up, then we'll discuss. So here what will happen? Your interface E0, it is being shared between the two contacts, okay, between the sales and HR. Okay. This will be shared between two contacts. So here we will not have the concept of sub interface. Okay, don't think like we are going to create sub interface and then that kind of concept we will use. No. No. And for ASA, let's change the mode to mode. Right now, single. Change the mode to multiple. See the configurations. Sales insight. Sales DMV. Sales outside. HR inside. DMZ. Then we have HR outside. So now if you try to understand from the last scenario to this scenario, we have only one difference. That in the last scenario, we were having here two interfaces. Okay, so we just assign these two interfaces, one to the sales, one to the HR. Now, instead of these two interfaces, we just have to go and assign only one single interface. So that means when I will go for the sales context, what are the interfaces I will assign? I will assign E0, E1, and E2. And when I'll go to the HR context, what are the interfaces I will allocate? E0,
4 and 3.
E3, and E4. So that means this one interface I will assign it to the both the contacts. Okay. And it is not going to be like, okay, you will assign one IP address on this interface in the sales context. So same IP address will reflect here. No, it is not going to happen. Like I said, these are completely going to be two separate firewalls. Okay, so this interface in the sales context, it will have one IP address, and in the HR context, it is going to have one IP address. Okay, so let's see. So there will not be a major change in the configuration. If you see, we have already changed the mode to multiple interfaces we will bring up. So here, Ethernet 0 is there. Same thing here. It will be E0, E3, and E4. In case of HR, E0 will be inside, E3 DMZ, E4 outside. E0 inside, E3 DMZ, E4 outside. This is clear? Yes or no? Understood what will be the change?
Yes, understood.
Great. So I'll just copy this configuration from here. Okay. Okay, I'll just manually type the comments so that we don't have any confusion. Okay. Let me paste. First of all, let me check the mode. Mode. Yes, it is multiple. So right now, what all I have done is I have just changed the host name and I have just brought the interfaces up. That's it. So show interface IP read. All my interfaces are up. If I say show context, so right now only one context is there. And if I say show flash, so you can see this is my admin context. Okay. And there will be one old configuration running old running configuration file will be present. Okay. So, okay, let me tell you one more thing, that how to create the admin context also. That is something, let me tell you. So see, whenever you go for the exam, so in the exam, sometimes what will happen, they will delete this file or they will delete the admin context. So if you don't have the admin context, how will you create it? Okay. And sometimes they might make some changes in the configuration, like they might intentionally misconfigure. Okay. So you have to delete this configuration file also. So what you can do, how to delete? You can say delete start.cfg. And this will delete all the CSV files from your flash. Now, if I go and check show flash, I don't have it. Okay. And if you say show context, admin context is there. So let me try to say no context. Okay. So you see, when you try to say command like this, what it says, attempted removal of the admin context cannot remove the admin context. If you want to remove the admin context, you have to use the command clear configure context. Okay. So we will use clear configure context. Okay. Now if you see show context, do you have the admin context here? No. And if you try to create a normal context like this, context admin, this is how we create a context. If I create like this, do you see what it says? That before creating any context, you need one admin context. So identify admin context first. You need an admin context first. Because you cannot manage your firewall, you cannot manage your context without admin context. So first of all, you have to tell your firewall that this is my admin context. And if you want to identify or create an admin context, you will have to use the command admin context. Okay, so you will say admin context. Name you can give anything. Right now I'm giving admin only. You see creating admin context done. Show context. Admin context is created. Right now it says URL, it is not entered. So we have to give the config URL command. Okay. And we can assign one interface also for the management. So according to our topology, what is the interface? We are using E5. Okay. So you will give here the E5 interface. So you will see context admin. Okay. And then you will see allocate interface E5. Okay. And you can give it the name management like this. Okay. And you can say configure config URL and you want to name it admin.chg. Okay, so now if you say show context, you will see that interface was not there. Now we have E5. URL was not entered. Now we have this URL. Okay. Now change to system. Back to the system context. Now we will create the remaining context. Okay. So first of all, let's talk about the sales context. context, sales. What are the interfaces I will allocate? Outside allocate interface. So E0, E1 and E2 interface I have to send. So I'll say E0 and E0 will be my inside interface. Then E1 will be my DMZ interface. E2 will be my outside interface. Okay, URL we have to give. So config URL. And I want to name it sales.ch. Okay. Then change to context. HR. Okay, we haven't created it. Simply say context HR. Then we will allocate the interfaces. So E0 will be inside interface for the HR. Okay. E3 will be DMZ and E4 will be outside. E3 and E4. One URL we have to create. So this will be config URL hr.ch. Okay. Now let's check. So in text, I have admin context, sales context, and HR context. In the admin context, I have E5, sales context E0, E1, E2, and HR context E0, E3, and E4. So we can see that this E0, it is shared between these two contexts. Okay. Now, we can not use the context. Change to context, space, interface IP, degree. So these are the interfaces inside DMZ and outside. Let me make the necessary changes here. E0, E3. In the sales, we will have inside DMZ. Outside, same thing here. Inside DMZ, outside. Okay. Then the IP addresses, these I can just copy paste. Okay. No need to type all that in a second. Then also HR context will copy. So this is sales configuration done. This is HR configuration going on. Okay. So from the sales, let me try to ping the firewall. So if I say pings 10.1.1.10, let me see if I'm able to ping. So you can see I'm able to ping, right? Okay. But if I try to ping see, my inside interface IP is what? 10.1.1.10. And here on the SA, it will be 10.3.3.10. So if I try to ping 10.3.3.10, right? Let me check. From here, if I try to ping 10.3.3.10, am I able to ping? Yes or no? Am I able to ping my inside interface? That means from sales, I was able to ping the sales gateway. But if I try to ping the HR gateway, I'm not able to ping. Why? Because although this interface is shared, but again, this will behave like two interfaces only. So this side we have IP 10.1.1.10. This side we have 10.3.3.10. So this guy is able to ping 10.1.1, but this guy is not able to ping this one. Okay, same way, your HR inside, it will be able to ping 10.3.3.10, but when it will try to ping this IP address, so it will not be able to ping. That means traffic will be completely segregated and separated. Is it clear?
Yes, it's clear. And when we want to do any maintenance, like a reboot or anything, that time will it affect the other part? Like suppose we want to restart the HR context.
Hmm.
So in so what happens? Or if you want to change any configuration, like you want to do shut no shut of this particular interface on the HR
Yeah.
system.
So that thing we have to go and do it in the context itself.
Okay.
Like I said, this is one individual firewall here.
Okay.
Okay.
So if I go to HR context and if I shut this
Mm-hmm.
interface,
Mm-hmm.
the
So definitely that will not affect this side.
what about the sales inside?
Mm-hmm. So see here, let me show you practically. First of all, let's test communication from HR inside to HR ping and so from here I'm able to ping. Now, right now I'm in the HR context, so interface IP brief. And if I say interface inside shut up, this is down, change to context sales. So interface IP brief. Is that clear? So when I bring
Want to ask
the
you
yes.
regarding contact HR. That's mean numbers and names and what contact numbers? Contact of HR and contact sales.
Which one?
Contacts HR. What يعني the يعني list of the name and number or what? How contact يعني contact what?
Context is basically a virtualization. Like, normally what do we have? Consider like this is your computer. Okay, so this is one hardware here. Same resources. Let's say you have like 1 TB SSD. You have 32 GB RAM. Okay, and you have one CPU. So now, normally in normal cases, what you can do, you are able to use only one overseer. Okay, either you can use Windows, you can use Linux, any one operating system you are able to use. But when you use virtualization, so what it does, that it uses these same resources only. Okay, so you are able to use or you are able to create multiple virtual machines in this same hardware, but now it is shared between these two. Same way your ASA concept is there. In the ASA, we have this context. So context is nothing but virtualization only. That you have one firewall, but you want it to behave like more than one. So that's why you create contacts here. Okay, so it is not like a number or a name. It's a entire different firewall, you can say. So instead of one, you can say like two operating systems are running here. So same thing I showed you, right? That here in the HR, although this interface inside, that is our E0 interface, it is shared between the HR context as well as it is there in the sales context also. So on the HR side, I went and gave the shutdown command, and on the HR side, it went down. But on the sales side, it is still up. Is it clear?
Yes, yes, now I understand.
Okay, great. Navneet, is it clear? You doubt, I believe. Now it's clear.
Yes, yes, that's clear.
Okay, great. So let me go back to the context HR. Let's make sure of the case. Interface insert. Shutdown. So interface ID. Okay. So from here we saw that from sales to sales communication I have. That means my sales gateway communication. Sorry. From HR to HR gateway communication I have, and from sales to sales gateway communication I have. Let me try to take the access of sales outside. If I say 11.1.1.25, am I able to take an access? Same thing, let me try from the HR. Well, take a telnet access 12.1.1.20. So am I able to take an access here? Not able to take an access, right? I am not able to take an access. Not here, not here. Although from here, from my sales inside, I'm having communication till my gateway. Okay. From the HR inside, I'm having communication till gateway. Okay. And if you test, I will have communication from outside to the firewall, outside to the firewall. This communication is also there. That's it. So if I go on the sales outside, and if I say ping 11.1.10, I have this communication from HR outside, 12.1.1.10. So this communication also, okay. So that means what is going on right now? I have this communication as well as I have this communication from here to here and also from here to here. Then why from sales inside I don't have communication to sales outside? Security level in ASA. But I'm trying TCP, right? From inside to outside, from high security level to low security level, from high security level to low security level. Everything is allowed, right? And by default, TCP and UDP inspection is there. So the response also should be allowed. But still, it's not being allowed. Why? See, because this interface here, it is shared. Okay. So this is one interface. How many MAC addresses does it have? One interface will have how many MAC addresses? 1, correct. So that MAC address is the issue. Okay. That these two separate contexts, they should have a separate MAC address. Okay. So let me show you. Change to system. Show interface is, this is my interface and this is my MAC address on this interface. Let me copy it and let me paste it. This is my MAC address on this interface. Okay. Now, let me check in the sales context. Change to context sales. Show interface insert. What is the MAC address? Is it same?
Yes, it's same.
Okay. Change to context HR. Show interface insert. What about this? So whenever the traffic reaches to the AC gets confused. That exactly for which interface it is, how it has to send it. Okay. And for that reason, there is a specific command given in your AC. Okay. So what you have to do here, you have to go and change the MAC addresses. So go to the context, you say change to system, and there's a command MAC address off. Okay. So now what will happen? Show interface A0. This is the actual MAC address in the system context. Show change to context sales. Show interface inside. Do you see? Now what is the MAC address? It is different. Okay, and for HR context, it will be different. So change to context HR, show interface inside. This is a different MAC address. And once these MAC addresses are different, now you try. You have the communication. Is it clear? So whenever you are using the shared interface concept, make sure you give the command MAC address auto. Okay. And here on this HR side also, you can try. See. Yeah. So one extra command you will have to use when you're using the shared interface concept. Okay. Now, next scenario can be what? That instead of having two different networks here, okay, we can use the shared interface on the outside. Okay. So next scenario we can have is we can try to use the shared interface concept on the outside. Okay. I change the scene or create a new one. Let me write all the configuration. We'll create a new lab. This part is clear, right, to everyone? That you just have to use this one extra command, that is MAC address auto. Okay. Whenever you're using the shared interface concept. So in the notepad, let me mark this change. Here we have already given inside DMZ, outside IP addresses are given. Here, change to system, and we'll say MAC address. Right, memory. Let's write all these configurations. To system, MAC address. Oh, sorry. Right, memory power. And these configurations, they are already written. Let me close it. So let me save it as shared interface. This was the inside shared interface. Okay. What is the log?
What will be the use of changing this MAC address?
See, when you don't change, okay, so in both the context, ASA will have the same MAC address. And if your ASA has the same MAC address, and when the traffic arrives, so what will happen? See, ASA has to provide a MAC address for the ASA has to like behave as a proxy, because these guys, when they will try to access this sales outside, so obviously they will send an ARP, right?
Yeah.
So to the ARP, it has to respond with its own MAC address. Correct?
Yes, yes. Correct.
So now both sides, it cannot give the same MAC address.
Mhm.
So for that reason, we require different MAC addresses here.
Okay.
Okay. So this is your shared interface inside. And this one will be inside as well as outside. Both sides we will use the shared interface concept. Now here again, slight change will be there. E0 E1 interfaces and delete. We will use a switch. Why we are using the shared interface concepts? Because we want to save the number of interfaces. Okay. Now here also we won't have a very big change in the configuration. Okay. Instead of separate interfaces, we will assign the outside also as a single interface. Okay. So what will be the change? If you see in the ASA configuration, so E0, E1 and E2 on the sales side, and E0, E3, and again this one will be what? E2 on the outside. Only this will be the change. Now this interface will also be shared, and we will already be using the MAC address auto command. This is clear. What will be the change? Right? Only this change is there because we have changed only a slight, we have made a slight change in our topology.
Yeah, so we are going to have two shared interfaces.
Yes.
One for inside and another one is for outside.
Exactly. One for the inside shared and one for the outside is shared. So, they can access. For the ASA, sales insight, sales DMZ, sales outside, HR insight, HR DMZ, HR outside. Mhm. No, 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 no. Here also. Okay, ASA is also up. So let's copy paste the configurations for the sales inside outside DMZ. Sales inside, sales DMZ, sales outside, HR inside, and we have HR DMZ. And we have HR outside. Now, if you have understood like what will be the change in the ASA configuration, then I can just copy paste. Otherwise, if you think like there is a confusion, then I can type it all the comments, like I can type in the ASA. So, okay. So if the comments or the changes, these are clear. See, what is the change? Only on the outside, we have just shared the interface. That is the change. So if this change is clear to you, I can just copy paste. Clear to everyone? That while allocating the interface, we will just use the E2 interface. All right, so then we'll just copy paste. Remaining IP addressing and all these things, we are not changing anything. So first of all, I will not give the MAC address auto command. Something is wrong. Let's create the okay, S is capital here. Mhm. Here, if you think some mistake is there, you can clear all the configurations. Okay. And let me make a necessary change. Here it is small. Copy. And don't give this command on your production firewall, okay? This will clear out all the configuration. Copy. Paste. Again, error. Now what is the error? Okay, admin context is also removed. Okay, here configure. Okay, now there is no configuration. So when I say clear configure all, it has removed the admin context also. So first of all, we'll have to go and create the admin context. How do you create the admin context? You see admin context, admin, allocate interface. And what is the interface we will assign here? E5. You can name it as management. Config URL admin.cfg. Okay. Then you can create remaining contacts. Okay, your sales context to HR context. And if you want for the management, you can say change to contact admin interface management. Name it management. Security level 100. IP address 10.5.5.10. This is what you can do. And then after, okay. Now everything is okay. Copy, paste. Again error. Now what is the error? Admin context must be initialized with the config URL first. Okay, so let's do it manually because we have to write the changes first. Here, configure how. Exit, exit. So once you create your admin context, you will have to write the changes. Right, memory. Now, okay. After the admin context, okay, everything looks good. Again, okay, great. So we will do it manually only. Now, what is the error? Context admin must be initialized. Something is wrong. HR sales admin context admin looking purpose. Okay, let's do it step by step on it. Something is wrong. Here, configure. So, so context, nothing is there. Admin context admin. I found what is the mistake. Directly, we cannot allocate the interface here. Here we have to say change to context. No. This is context hasn't been initialized. This will get happening here. This one. Now I look at the interface. If I name it management, config URL, admin.cfc, context states. Now remaining everything is fine. This was one command that was missing. Okay. So here we created the sales context. We allocated the interfaces, created the HR context, allocated the interfaces. Okay. Then for the admin context, we have done some configuration of the IP address management. Okay. Then for the sales, we configured all the IP addresses, and for the HR, we configured all the IP addresses. Okay. So right now, if I see show context, okay, right now because we are in the HR context, change to system, show context. So we have these three contexts, and here you can see that E0 and E2 it is shared. E0 and E2 is shared. Okay. Now let's talk about the MAC addresses. So let me change the host name. Interface A0 no show, E1 no show, E2 no show, E3 no show, E4 no show, E5. show interface IP3. Interface is there. Show interface E0. So this is the MAC address for the E0 interface. And what about the E2? E2 MAC address is this. So this is the MAC address that will be there on the outside. Here. Okay. So click it. Okay. Now let's check in the context that whether in the context is it the same MAC address or different. Change to context sales. So interface inside. This is the same MAC address. What about the outside? This is the same MAC address you can see. For the inside and outside, we have the same MAC addresses. That means whatever the interface MAC address is there in the system context, same MAC address in the inside you can check for the sales and also on the outside for the sales. And same thing if I check for the HR context, interface inside, interface outside. It is same, correct? Now let's give the command MAC address also, not here, but in the system context. MAC address. Okay. Now if I check sales interface inside, it is different. Interface outside, it is different. Same thing, let's check for the picture. Inside different, outside different. Okay, so let's try to have communication from the inside to the outside. 11.1.1.25. So we have the communication. And from the HR inside to HR outside. 12.1.1.25. You have the communication. This is clear. Any doubt? No doubts, right? It's clear.
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, great. Now there's a task for you. Okay, because this is all we have to do in the contexting part. We can use shared interface, separate interfaces. All the scenarios I have shown you. There is one task. What is the task? Let me write the configuration first. Actions. Hold on. Multi-context task. The task for you is that I don't have two outside. Okay. I don't have two outside. That means I don't have two ISPs right now. I just have one. Now let me change the name to what's again. and it has the IP address 11.1.1.125. This is your task. The task is clear. Now you have only one outside. That you have two departments, sales as well as HR, and both of these departments, they want to access the internet. Okay. Task is clear, guys. Both sales inside and outside, they should be able to take an access of your internet. Clear? Great. So complete this task and your contacting is done. Now tomorrow we will start with the concept of HA, high availability. Okay, so we'll do about failover. So if no doubts, we can wind up the session. Yes, now.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, guys, then I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day. Okay, make sure to complete this task. If you face problem, we'll discuss it tomorrow.